Riel Miller, Head of Futures Literacy, UNESCO's Office, Paris. Yang berbahagia Datin Norazah binti Umar, Under Secretary, International Relations Divisions, Ministry of Higher Education. Our Chair, Prof. Sohal Inayatullah, Prof. Faris, the Co-Chair, and Ms. Uma Devi, representing the NATCOM of the Ministry of Education Malaysia. And we also have representatives from our Malaysian Permanent Delegates Office of Paris, Dr. Idris bin Ismail. And of course, University's Management Committee and all the partners and all these guests who are joining us today. On behalf of IIUM, I would like to welcome everyone to these very, very special occasions, marking another milestones of IIUM's achievement to be recognized as a UNESCO chair, joining the global network of UNESCO and UNITWI. What makes it even more special and momentous today is that together with us, there are 13 guest partners who've been supporting us all this while. The main agencies, the Paris and the UNESCO Paris office, and everyone. There were like maybe 22 of them in our application form. So we get more than half of them joining us today. Without further ado, I guess I would leave to Tan Sri Zul to share his visions of our chair and also share his aspirations. What can we do for the next 30, 40 years? The floor is yours, Tan Sri.
Thank you very much, Zainal. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. Greeting of peace. Good morning, afternoon, evening to everybody. I would like to recognize Riel Miller, Heads of Futures Literacy, UNESCO Paris, certainly my colleague Sohail Inayatullah, who is the co-chair of this, and also my other colleague, Professor Ahmad Faris, who is a co-chair at local level in the university, and everybody else. Thank you very much for making time. This is indeed a great honor for us to welcome you, and also a privilege to host this particular occasion, which is to us a very historic event, a momentous event to mark the progress of where we are going in the context of trying to bring futures into the larger understanding of what education is all about. I will go back to 15 years ago when I first met Sohail almost accidentally in Luxembourg, and I still remember the seminar called The Futures of Tomorrow. Since then, I think we have been working closely together, and now I think we are back with Sohail. Hopefully this time to also create another Apex University, as it were, when I was in University Science Malaysia, where Sohail perhaps being instrumental in trying to reshape the university the way it is. This university, I think, is a new university for me, and I've been here for the last 3 years. But certainly there's a tremendous effort in trying to make this university a futuristic university, given the dimension that it has. This university is an international Islamic university, which was set up maybe almost 38 years ago. The idea was basically to give a fair chance to education to everybody around the world, so that they have a better future in trying to make what they want to be as far as they're concerned. Not knowing that when you talk about the future now, the future is really at stake. Many of the things that we envisage maybe 30 years ago may not be as easy to come by, given the complexity, given the chaotic nature, and given the last pandemic, the current pandemic that we are facing through. So this chair means a lot to us in trying to re-strategize, putting this university back on its kind of vision, and maybe also to shape the vision as we move forward. Over the last couple of months, I think again with the help of Sohail, we have run our own scenario planning workshop, and with that we end up with our own scenario of IIUM 2040, and this becomes one of the main pillars of activities that we are trying to realize, given the support of everybody else, making that the future will be something that all of us can arrive at, given the plan that we are now putting into place. So the work that I envisage very much into what this chair is all about, anticipation of sustainability and well-being. The word well-being has been there in the university in the context of Sejahtera, but it's never been in the dimension that we are talking in the terminology today. In other words, this whole words of Sejahtera now needs to be made into something which is real, given the connectivity we have with other similar sort of terminologies around the world. The word Ubuntu, for example, the word Ikigai, the word Lagong, the word Nunchi, many of these words that belongs to the human heritage that talks about very much the future that we want, a balanced, a harmonious future, a future that is fairer, a future that is full of justice and also equity. These are all the values that has come back now into the realm of education, and certainly this university is taking this on in a very serious mode. We have created our own new framework called the Sejahtera Academic Framework that all of these values are embedded in, and we're shifting the mode of the university to a market westernized oriented university, to a very localized value-based university that gives its own context in trying to make university meaningful for the population and hopefully for the world at large. So I think the mission is very, very ambitious. But I think this is something that's achievable, given the kind of cordiality, and I really feel this when we have our Asia Pacific Future Network meeting for the first time. I joined it, and I really felt at home with a group of people, and some of the names are here. And I really want to thank you for welcoming our university into this realm of the future studies, and also working together, making close contact, learning from one another. Being the youngest of the chair, although Sohail there has been for a long time, but for us it is something that we need to nurture and to make sure that it become part and parcel of the university as the university moves forward. So I would like to end by thanking everybody, particularly Real Miller, for making this as painless as possible and as in the quicker time that I can remember, so that now we are part and parcel of the family of the future studies on the UNESCO chair, and we hope we can work together and also learn as much as we could, so that we can also contribute as much as we could in our own context, given the role of the chair in terms of the future studies and creating a well-being that is meaningful for all of us. So thank you very much, and I really look forward to the future with all of us. And I would like to thank also my colleague, Zainal, who has been so tirelessly trying to figure out where the chair is, and then later on comes Zarina and everybody else that comes on board to make what today is a reality as far as the chair is concerned. So thank you very much. Greeting of peace, and hopefully we will have a better future ahead of us.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Tan Sri. That was interesting to see how the vision is there, and there will be partially illustrated in our video later on. Next, would like to invite our boss in the office, the UNESCO Paris office, Real Miller. The floor is yours.
Thank you, one and all, and of course a wonderful moment and a great honor. I am very grateful for all of the efforts that have been made, and I really want to pay tribute to all the people that have been mentioned so far, and the really exceptional collaborative spirit behind the creation of this chair. Let me underscore, and I won't take very long, but I want to take this moment to draw attention to the nature of these UNESCO chairs and the network that you are contributing to and becoming part of. And let me speak in a personal light here, which is I did my PhD work in economics at the New School for Social Research, and I plunged into futures thinking in a very mainstream way from the forecasting perspective in economics, and worked at the OECD. It was the inadequacy or the incompleteness that I felt quite acutely in that context that inspired me to continue to interrogate, to explore, to test, to call into question the way I was using the future and the way that the future was being used around me. That was my personal voyage. Today, I think, and I see this in the students, but I see this also in policymakers, I see this in researchers and in universities, that there is a change taking place. That if somebody today wanted to become more aware of how human agency plays a role in the creation and recreation of the world around us, they would have an avenue for moving forward in that direction that I don't think was available to me when I was starting. And I don't think that this is a minor thing, and I don't think it's something that we've caused by being prescient or particularly brilliant, but I think it's a message of our times. The advances that have taken place in our understanding of, let's say, complexity theory, the advances that have taken place in our understanding of knowledge creation and epistemic diversity, the advances that have taken place in our awareness of the extent to which humanity has alienated itself in a very fundamental way from the world in which we live. These opportunities, these experiences, these moments that we have been able to live through, that I've been able to live through, have created a condition, a situation where I believe we're open to creating a new context. And this context to me is one that's related to this chair and to all the chairs. In other words, we are getting a huge kind of outpouring and resonance around this challenge that we face that I think is very fundamental, which is we do not make sufficient use of our capacity to imagine. Humans have this tremendous, in some ways odd, in some ways probably dangerous capability to imagine the future and to bring the future into the present, because the future does not exist, through our imagination. But we really have not spent the time or the effort. We have really not created the routines, the expectations, the rituals, which cultivate the diversity of ways, reasons with which we can use our imagination. And if we see there are some 30 chairs that I think will be in place by the end of this year or next, and we're moving towards 50 and more. This is a movement that signals a recognition around the world, amongst researchers, amongst policymakers, but I think amongst citizens in general, that we have the potential to take advantage of this very basic human characteristic, something that's characteristic of all living organisms, the capacity to anticipate, to be inserted into time, to not just try to control the future, to not simply put ourselves in the position of wanting to create security by knowing the future. And to me, this draws very crucial attention to something that, to a certain extent, runs against the grain of the 19th century imperative to change the world, to control the world, to build the world, to create the world. It runs against that imperative because it says perception comes first. What we see is still something that precedes our choices. And the role of the future, although it seems so crucial for the choices we make, I make my choice based on which bet I think will win. So the future seems crucial for the choices and the bets I make, and I'm making bets all the time. But before I make those bets, how am I seeing the world? And there, the role of the future, I think, is very significantly underdeveloped. And this issue becomes central for us to reconcile our relationship to the world around us in the sense of being more humble, in the sense of understanding that the surprises and the only certainty, which is uncertainty, is really a resource and not an enemy, and that we can begin to rethink our relationship to the future from one of trying to be, in some senses, colonial and imposing to being good compost, and to making the gift that we give to the future the lightness and the confidence that we have in future generations. So I am really so thrilled to see this happening, and so grateful that it's with tremendous gratitude and a sense of humility that I find myself in your company, because this is obviously what makes all of this possible. And I really look forward to working together over the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Riel. That was very strong and important message that there is a potential of future which is still underdeveloped for us in changing the world or context. Next, we'd like to invite our co-chair, Prof. Faris, to say a few words within 5 minutes to illustrate our visions as well as the UNESCO chair.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and welcome. Hello, everybody. I guess first of all, I think I would like to thank Dr. Riel Miller, not only for being here, but for the UNESCO to give the opportunity for IIUM to host this UNESCO Chair on Future Studies, Anticipation of Sustainability and Wellbeing. So thank you very much for UNESCO, for your trust and belief in us. Of course, I would like also to congratulate and welcome Professor Suhail as the chairholder of this UNESCO chair. So I think we look forward for many projects together. Of course, my boss, director, Professor Zul, the distinguished guests from the ministries, partners, ladies and gentlemen. I think we at IIUM, as I would like to echo what Professor Zul mentioned, we at IIUM are very honored and actually very humble to be given this opportunity to host the UNESCO chair at our university. Indeed, this is very much in line with the vision of our university, where we are looking at the future. We are trying to prepare the students, the leaders, the graduates for the future, which will take care of the sustainability, as well as we should also become the leader for a better world. I mean, that is what is enshrined in our vision. I mean, this university, I think we want to come up with programs that are futuristic, forward-looking, prepare for the future. I mean, and this is very much in line with what we are talking about, the sustainability and the well-being for the future generation, as stated by Riel Miller just now. So this chair is, I think, very much relevant to what we are doing. And of course, I would like to thank all the partners that are present today. In fact, there are so many things that I think we can work together. I mean, where we are talking about capacity building, when we are talking about knowledge exchanges, collaborations through research and publications. And I would like to echo the previous speakers talking about the network, especially the Asian Future Networks that we are part of the activities of the futures. And of course, we look forward for conducting trainings and workshops together, helping each other, so that I think this not only the culture, but the knowledge in the future studies, I think will be there among our students and among our society. So I guess in this short moment, I really, say that I'm very happy, and I look forward to work with all of you in many programs that we are planning to do. Thank you very much, Dana.
Thank you, Prof. Faris. Thank you, Tan Sri. Thank you, Riel. Now we having heard from the main actors and the agencies. The chair is now ready to be officially launched. For that purpose, let's watch a video being prepared for this to mark this very momentous events of launching of a UNESCO chair of future studies at IIUM.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. A greeting of peace. Let me first of all take this opportunity to welcome you to the International Islamic University Malaysia, which has been established since 1983. Since the last 2 years, the university has been configuring how to move forward into the future. Indeed, last 2 years we have created what we call the whole institution transformation in trying to take the university into the 21st century and beyond. This particular activity has involved the whole university, every staff members, every student, and indeed the community around us. We are very mindful that the future is something that we need to attend to and in fact create it as the way we want to see it in the context of what we want the future to be for us. Indeed, this university is very much interested in trying to understand what the future looks like, especially given the context, the COVID-19, that is changing almost everything in the perspective of our life, including education. And therefore, this opportunity is a welcome opportunity for us to interact with all of you, with most of you, so that we can understand the future better, not only for this university, but also for other universities around the world, that we can move as a collective whole in trying to define what the future would be, a better future for all of us. I would like once again to thank you for your interest in this university, and hopefully we can work together moving forward, creating a better, sustainable future for all of us. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and a greeting of peace to all of you.
Thank you very much. That's congratulations to IIUM. So that marks March 30 September. That's not the beginning of an exciting journey of IIUM as a chair of UNESCO Chair of Future Studies, Anticipations for Sustainability and Wellbeing. With that illustration of some ideas of what IIUM have, ambitions for this chair. So we'd like now to invite 13 guests of us to share or introduce their institution and also share possible ideas for collaborations. To start with, I would like to invite Dr. Katinka Webinja. Sorry if I didn't pronounce it correctly, Dr. Katinka, the Chief Environment and Development Policy Sections of UNESCO Thailand. So please, the floor is yours, Doctor.
Thank you very much. And can I just check that I can be heard, because I have to take this from...
Yes, clearly, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation, and also thank you and congratulations for this achievement. I'm here representing ESCAP. We are a regional arm of the UN Secretariat. We're a think tank essentially producing integrated knowledge products which regard a wide range of economic, social, and environmental issues. We are a convener of multi-stakeholder intergovernmental platforms, and we also provide policy advice. And my team first met Professor Inayatullah in 2019 when we were searching for a speaker who had a very clear vision of the future for an intergovernmental meeting that we were planning. And we were then really intrigued to find a speaker who was talking in terms of alternative futures, which approach to the future, which seemed to really perfectly fit our setting, because we're located in a very diverse region in Asia and the Pacific, with also potentially very different futures, especially in the context of climate change. So at that meeting, we benefited very much from Sohail's breadth and also his human approach as he addressed our most important intergovernmental meeting on sustainable development, and placed one of our flagship reports into the context of a response to the future scenario of achievement of the 2030 agenda. And then these initial conversations around the speaking slot turned into the possibility of really deepening impact. And with the collaboration of Professor Sohail, we then trained more of 30 of our staff members in transformative foresight. And we learned a lot during that process about our internal competencies and our individual skills. I think for many, it was a very eye-opening and exciting, and also probably a revolutionary process, because we all started it as development professionals, right? Not as futurists. But then we found that as development professionals, foresight is a really crucial skill to have, even if for some of us it was counterintuitive and stress-inducing. And for our team at the Environment and Development Division at ESCAP, I think it was especially important and also rewarding in a way to understand the emphasis that foresight places on engaging with different stakeholders, which really has been one of the core values of the team that I work in. This work is going to lead to the publication of a report. We had worked with stakeholders, and this is a report on foresight for the Asia-Pacific region that will be released shortly. Now, looking towards the future, I think that the installment of Sohail as UNESCO chair comes at a really excellent time for many reasons. Firstly, internally, the UN Secretary General has identified 3 competencies: foresight, behavioral science, and data innovation, as being core for the UN system transformation. He recently released a landmark report, the Common Agenda, which applies transformative foresight and points out some of the very deep challenges that the UN system needs to address in order to deepen our reach and to respond to future challenges. Of course, we also see that stakeholders want to be engaged in meaningful ways, and they have important insights to share. And finally, probably if there is one good element coming out of the COVID pandemic, I think it has contributed to the world's understanding of the value of preparedness and of foresight. So this occasion welcomes the right person to the position, open, credible, and welcoming to exploration of possibility and overwhelmingly human. And I do hope very much that over the next few years, we will do more work on foresight together. Training at ESCAP is still continuing, now focusing on capacitation of our in-house innovation team. And we do hope we will be able to call on Sohail to explore the future and to advocate for better approaches to policymaking, managing complexity and uncertainty. I'm very pleased to congratulate Sohail, and I look forward to our continued work together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Katinka. We surely will be working together now that you are in Thailand. So next, we'd like to call Dr. Anita, Director of Innovation and Strategy, Interpol. The floor is yours, Doctor.
Sohail, fantastic.
Hi.
Dear colleagues, distinguished guests, it's an extreme pleasure for me. My name is Anita Heesenberg. I'm a general in the Netherlands Police for the last 39 years. And I'm seconded since the last 4 years to Interpol as the director of the Innovation Center in Singapore. Sohail, do you realize it's nearly 15 years ago that we met? At that time, I was the director of the global think tank for law enforcement, which was called Pearls in Policing. And Pearls is linked to the creative ideas, but also to the special people. And in the more than 10 years we worked together, you were one of these special people. Not as a participant, no. The participants were senior police executive. who at that time did not realize that black swans were also relevant for law enforcement. And we started that exciting journey that for many, many years, every year, you and I were dealing with a group of senior, but call them young leaders, which met at 3 places in the world. And one session was totally dedicated, that was called the Sahil session, in which you made them realize that they had to challenge and think about the future. And Sahil, in my present position, many of these senior, then junior positions are now top leaders in law enforcement all over the world. And often when I meet them now, they say, Anita, that session with Sahil has changed my way of thinking forever. And we have to realize, dear colleagues, that the DNA of policing is reactive. We are not like the military, preparing for the wars we hope never will arrive. We are so good when there is something happening. We go, we think, we are innovative at the spot, but we are not very well in preparing, in being proactive. No, Sahil gave us, as a group of practitioners, this concept that we have to develop this future forward way of looking. And Sahil, I'm so happy that when I moved 4 years ago to Singapore, that and worked for Interpol, and for the ones who do not know, Interpol is the only really global law enforcement organization in the world with 194 member countries. And we established what we call strat talks, strategic talking, but also I called it sometimes straight talks. Let's talk, let's get the things on the table, the things related to the future. Because again, also amongst our 194 member countries, innovation and foresight are nice to have, but not really a need to have. And again, you, Sahil, you convinced them in sessions we organized together. And even recently, because many of you probably are aware that Interpol does not have a lot of funding, and we are very much depending on donors. And even recently, when we asked for, future and foresight experts to help us in our work in horizon scanning and future and forward thinking, it was you who said, Anita, I'm going to help you. And we are so grateful for that. Sahil, it has been such a pleasure, and it will not stop. And I want to share, just from also human side, who you are. For me, for us in the law enforcement world, you're very sharp. You don't care what you say because you are standing for your opinions. I will never forget your laugh. If you are in a session and you laugh, everyone melts. And you are a unique facilitator. Someone who is a champion in sharing, not only your fantastic knowledge, but also all your professional friends. And I see, and I'm grateful for you introducing us to Professor John Sweeney, who has been also such a fantastic collaboration. Also Jost Wagner, Jose Ramos, you share your professional friends, and that makes us stronger. And I can only say you have been a superb friend also. And probably what many people do not know, you are a unique body surfer. Don't forget that. Dear Sahil, congratulations with this prestigious post. You're a fantastic human being, and I look forward to continue working with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anita. There was an exciting experience that you shared with us. So hopefully, Prof. Suhal will share that with this new chair and fly IIUM higher and higher. Next, we'd like to invite Professor Muammar Salami, the Director, Prince Mohammed Center for Futuristic Study, Prince Mohammed bin Fahd University. Prof, the floor is yours. Can you unmute yourself? Sorry, but yes, you're on now.
Yeah.
You're on now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, all. I am honored to be taking part of the event today in the establishment of a new endowed chair in future studies. Right now, as we know, the future studies field is growing and it has to realize its true potential and importance in the stage along with all other scientific and non-scientific studies. Unlike others, the future studies field is intertwined with many other disciplines, the future of education, future of energy, future of medicine, and etc. Until we ultimately talk about the future of mankind, where will be 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, and so on. I am really excited to be a part of this field and to be in close contact with those who are pioneers in the field and are considered founders of this great discipline. The more endowed chairs that are established globally and the more that these chairs, centers, and other entities are locked together through collaboration, the faster we get to our ultimate goal. We should not and we should discourage any entity to act alone as a silo with no partners. It is only through mutual collaboration and getting all the great minds together that we will be able to advance, and we will be able to advance the field at exceptional rates. I represent Prince Mohammed bin Fahd Center for Futuristic Studies in the Eastern Province of Saudi Arabia, and I talk on behalf of the soon-to-be endowed chair in future studies to be established at PMU. And I talk on their behalf when I say that collaboration is the key to advancement. I will be meeting many in this event and at future events, and we can be able to discuss future cooperation opportunities. The Prince Mohammed bin Fahd Center is recognized nationally, regionally, and internationally as a center for future studies in the Eastern Province that is striving to serve the Saudi Arabia, the region, and collaborate with partners on the global level. Again, I want to thank the organizers for inviting me to take part of this prestigious and very important event, and I congratulate the host for establishment the UNESCO chair in future studies. Thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Muhammad, for the congratulatory remarks. We look forward to work closely with PMU, inshallah. Next, we would like to call Dr. Shambhu Shivanda, I hope I got it pronounced correctly, from Gurukul International, Sweden. Please, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation, Dr. Zainal Sanusi, respected Professor Dato Abdul Razak, Dr. Reel Miller, Dr. Ismail, Dr. Suhail Inayatullah, and all the partners and dignitaries who have gathered on the occasion of launching of this IIUM chair on future studies. Recognizing that we live in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world, we are currently faced with ranging from pandemics to climate change impacts. At the core of the multiple crises of the world today is the compelling need to relook at our relationships with nature and with our higher self and build a world which respects all forms of creation. Dr. Inayatullah led our international campaign, which brought together over 1,200 academicians from over 82 countries last December and gave an enlightening prognosis of what we might expect in the next 30 years and how human civilization could prepare for the challenges ahead. We hope to continue to collaborate with the UNESCO chair as we build our institutions like the New Humanist College of Asheville in the United States, International Academy in Singapore, New Humanist Center in Taichung, Taiwan, the Prout Academy in Italia, Teachers Training Center in India, International Center for New Humanist Studies in Sweden, and other such educational hubs around the world. Gurukul, which was established on September 7th, 1990, had the mission to serve humanity with a new humanist spirit, that extends the love of human heart to embrace the entire living and even the so-called inanimate world, and to acquire knowledge for that purpose. So we are glad to partner and share our vision with the Futures community. The goal of New Humanist Paradigm is to create a world of freedom without fear, harmony among all species, a world where purchasing power of one and all is constantly increasing, where morality is the foundation of individual and social life, where science and technology is subservient to greater welfare, where religion and spirituality affirm cosmic kinship and rationality, and where creativity, imagination, innovation, aesthetics, and fine arts blossom, and where universal love and divinity reigns and prevails. So we are glad to collaborate on strategic educational projects with the Futures UNESCO Chair to serve and nurture the roots of social change in order to build a brave new world of compassion and progressive thinking beyond the realm of material mobility and unto the world of aesthetics, mysticism, service, and blessedness. The seeds of social change need to be planted quite early in the future generation, but it also requires careful nurturing and encouragement to ensure that idealism of the young does not lose its hopeful luster under the insensitive strokes of selfishness and materialist myopic worldviews. So the current COVID pandemic has given us a wake-up call to reflect on our lifestyles and the underlying values on which we have built our institutions. The UNESCO Chair and the Futures community offers optimistic and progressive perspectives to bring balance and equipoise in all spheres of life and deliver greater happiness and blissful future for all creatures on this planet. I thank you very much for this opportunity to connect with all of you. I have been on many different occasions in the Asia Pacific Futures Network events, and I have seen many of you there. So thank you very much, and my good wishes and blessings for this great initiative which is happening now. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you for supporting us, and we seem to have a lot in common to work together. Next, we'd like to invite quite familiar face to us. We've got several meetings already with Dr. Kais. Dr. Kais is from the Center for Strategic Foresight, CESCO. Dr. Kais, the floor is yours. Dr. Kais, are you around or? Okay. We'll call Dr. Kais afterwards if it's not. All right. Maybe we can go to Josh Wagner. Josh?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, go on.
Okay, sorry. Salam alaikum, selamat petang. Dear colleagues, dear friends, I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here today. Actually, this morning I facilitated a workshop, and it was very much about human rights abuses in a country I don't want to mention. So I couldn't imagine a better space now with all my futurist colleagues here at this special moment. So I want to share maybe 2 or 3 sentences, personal sentences about how I met Dr. Suhail. So Dr. Suhail, I met actually in 1999. I just finished my MA, and I was working as an assistant to a professor at the University of Trier. And there was also a UNESCO chair for European studies. And Dr. Suhail suddenly popped up for 5 weeks. I think he was writing also some books we probably all of us have read. And so I had the pleasure to assist him in these 5 weeks. And also I had my first future thinking seminar with him. This was 1999. That time I didn't know that future thinking will be actually playing a major role, in my life 2 decades later. So, and Dr. Suhail was very central in in this journey towards future thinking. So in 2015, we reconnected thanks to the social media. And so we decided that we want to promote future thinking more in the Southeast Asian region. I mean, I was aware that Singapore and Malaysia already had quite a strong focus on future thinking that time, but in the Mekong region less. And so Suhail and I agreed that we want to host a course on future thinking and strategy transformation. It became a yearly course, and we brought in people from our networks. We invited people, but it was also public. And I think we have now concluded 5 courses. And a lot of people who participated in the course actually became real futurists or future thinking practitioners. And many of them were actually working in development agencies. As a professional facilitator, I work primarily with development agencies. And so many of them are actually applying now future thinking in their work. So we already met Katinka, and we also had the pleasure to welcome people from the UN in our courses, but also, as many of you know, I'm very much involved in the Asia Pacific Futures Network. In 2018, Suhail actually convinced me to go to Seoul to the 3rd Asia Pacific Futures Network. And at the wrong time, I stepped out of the room. And when I came back, I was told the audience has voted for Bangkok to do the 4th one. So I happened then to organize the 4th and the 5th Asia Pacific Futures Network. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without the encouragement and the support of Dr. Suhail. And just recently, and I kept my background on, so 10 days ago, together with the help of my colleague Sophia Basile and Suhail and many colleagues who are here in the room, we have concluded the 2nd virtual Asia Pacific Futures Network. And I think Zul Razak mentioned that as well. He was very actively participating and delivering a keynote on Friday. I think it was very much the feeling of community in spite of being in a virtual format. So having said that, I very much committed with my colleagues to actually support the chair in his futures endeavors, support also the university, the Terra Center for Sustainability and Humanity in their work to find solutions for social, ecological, and economic sustainability with a future orientation. And yes, I hope that we can collaboratively continue spreading the message of future thinking. And many of my colleagues here in the meeting, I think, will do the same. So terima kasih banyak atas jemputan and Anda, and I hope that this chair will flourish and will have the impact we are all hoping for. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Terima kasih banyak-banyak, Josh. There's some very exciting stories of how to learn that never go out of room. That's what Sohail put in the chat box. Yeah. While we are very honored to have Prof. Sohail looking at the remarks and the reputation that he has, we are very proud and we look forward to make use of his expertise and very vast network. Next, we'd like to hear from Dr. Seong Won Park from National Assembly Futures Institute. The floor is yours, Doctor.
Thank you for inviting me to the inauguration ceremony of the chair of UNESCO Future Studies in IIUM. It was in 2007 when I met Professor Inayatullah. So this year marks 14 years since we first met. Actually, before I met him, I worked as a journalist. When I told my colleagues that I would quit my job as a journalist and go to the University of Hawaii to study futures, most of them opposed my plan to study abroad. When I insisted on going, a senior colleague told me, okay, if you study at the University of Hawaii for 1 year and think that future studies is useful in your life, you will stay. Otherwise, come back to the newspaper company, your home. And I liked his idea and thought I could judge whether future studies would help me or not. If it didn't help, I would not waste to have to waste my life because I could go back to Korea. After I entered graduate school, I began to wonder how future studies would help my life. So I chose one of the methodologies of future studies and wrote a newspaper article about a case that was a hot topic in Korea at that time. At the same time, I wrote another article about the same case in the way I always used to write as a journalist. I would compare the two different articles and determine which methodology would be better to describe the case. The method I picked was causal layer analysis, created by a chair in Ayatollah. And what was the result? You can guess that CLA made me stay in Hawaii and study future studies without going back to Korea. Actually, I was surprised to see that CLA extended my thinking framework to the worldview and the myth level, as well as a systemic level. The 4 images of the future that Jim Dater created as a forecasting methodology is a tool to unfold the possibilities of the future as widely as possible. CLA is a very useful tool to deepen the possibilities. I still teach CLA to undergraduate and postgraduate students, not only to forecast the future, but also to verify the future possibilities that students forecast. Most students find CLA very easy to understand and useful. The efficiency of future studies should be recognized not only by policymakers, university professors and students, but also by ordinary citizens in a society. Any person could realize that forecasting is enjoyable and useful to understand the variety of changes that can shape and impact an individual's life. The essence of future studies can be understood by taking one step further from envisioning and designing the future into practicing the alternative futures in which citizens want to live. I think the position of chair of future studies at UNESCO is very important in this respect. The chair helps citizens, experts, and decision makers experience the usefulness of future studies on a civil society level. In the National Assembly Futures Institute in Korea that I worked for as a futurist, I have been conducting foresight research projects in which I co-work with citizens to forecast the future. In this process, people can actively participate in politics, ask politicians for alternatives that are useful for social development, or find ways to realize the future directly by themselves. I hope that UNESCO and National Assembly Futures Institute in Korea will collaborate for envisioning and creating preferable futures. Just as my relationship with Sohail that was established 14 years ago has become a long friendship now, I hope that UNESCO and National Assembly Futures Institute will become good friends for making a better future. I would like to congratulate Chair Inayatullah again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Park. Looks like we can call ourselves a mini World Futurist Summit, real. That looks like everyone knows each other and all the collections of experience reflecting that we're gathering that groups of people already. Thank you very much. So we'd like to go next to Sherman, who is the President, Associations of Professional Futurists from the Philippines.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So let me jump in about a quick brief story about my link and how I was able to connect with Suhail. Way back in 2006, 2007, I was taking up my PhD in political science at UP Diliman, at the University of the Philippines, Diliman, and I was working on my PhD dissertation. I was looking for some tools and methods that I could use. And then I Googled and found, perhaps accidentally, about this 3 letters called CLA, causal layered analysis. And then I checked the CLA, saw MetaFuture. The website was up by that time, and I emailed Suhail. And Suhail was so generous that right away, after a couple of emails, he sent me at least 3 of his books. Then after that, reading the CLA, I got bored, and the modules in political science, because it was so systems driven, past driven, and too American. So, and I failed my subject. yeah, and then after that, I dropped the course, and then by that time, like 2 months after, there was a course at the University of Science Malaysia, with Jim Dater and Swahil as the lecturer. But during that time, there was also the World Future Studies Federation during the Global Higher Education Forum.
So,
Yeah, and then I loaned some money because I was a PhD student. Flew to Malaysia, and then I met a lot of friends who are here right now. Jose, John, everyone who's here was there. And then after that, after 2 weeks of spending my time in Malaysia, speaking with this folks, especially Swahil, and when I was on the plane, what I'm gonna do with this, right? And then Jose suggested, like, Sherman, build your a center, and that it gave me the idea. Okay, I have to start my center. So from then, I started working as a consultant, initiated my first course, thanks to Jose for his help. And then it grew, it evolved, and with continued interaction and communication with Swahil, we've been able to, together, set up the Asia Pacific Futures Network. And of course, it was a continuing network since then, particularly in the Asia Pacific. Now, as chair of the Association of Professional Futurists, 2 months ago, the board had a conversation about rethinking and reimagining the future of the Association of Professional Futurists. And 4 things came up. One is to re-energize the course, reframe, rethink, re-energize the course of professional foresight or a professional futures practice, relating to at least 3 things. One is field level outreach. Second is public outreach. And third is, of course, member engagement. And with the conversation that we've had, and then of course you learn as you improvise and experiment in the process. I learned that as well from Riel, that the future is open, that we can co-design through collective intelligence, the futures literacy approach via the Futures Literacy Lab. So it became some sort of, eventually my practice would be an integration of what's best and what's good in foresight practice. And as the chair of the Association of Professional Futurists, I tried to, implement the lessons learned that I've had, for more than a decade, perhaps 12 or 13 years of foresight practice. Today, the Association of Professional Futurists sees itself as a hub, for that emphasize inclusivity and diversity of professional foresight practice. Reinvention and reimagination of the field continues. And today, the APF sees itself as a global, generative, collaborative community of futurists, beyond, of course, the idea of the professional. And given the fact that, of course, from the view of the Futures Literacy Network is that the need for us to democratize access to futures literacy and for people to know futures literacy, futures thinking, or strategic force, whatever you might want to call it, is accessible and known to the different sectors of the world, in particular here in the Asia Pacific. For the APF, we see, futurists and foresight practitioners exist, to deepen and widen our professional expertise on a continuing basis, to advance the field of foresight so that futures work is known, and to create and serve a better future world. And there is no better platform and avenue to do just that with greater impact than the UNESCO chair. So, that is my reflection, and I think from this platform, of course, with Swahil, since he had been a UNESCO chair for many, many years, several years, I would say many years, has always been my mentor, and Riel, of course, has always been there, to guide and check, the practice and question and make it known that we need to, diversify futures and foresight with a cultural context and a societal approach with a greater impact for the entire field and society as well. Again, congratulations to Dr. Swahil Inayatullah and the university for the official launch. And of course, thank you very much, Riel, for spreading this opportunity. And I think the Futures and Foresight field will definitely have a better avenue to the conceptualize foresight, as you've said, and to create greater impact for a better future world.
Thank you, Sherman. I see clear charted paths of collaborations already between APM and IIUM Chairs of Future Studies. We'd like to call next Professor Reza from Kelman University of Medical Science. You around, Prof? Yes, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, but if you can speak a bit louder.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me, and warm greeting from Iran to all participants in this ceremony. I'm very happy to be with this community that is concerned with sustainability and well-being. On behalf of my colleague at Institute for Future Studies in Health at Kerman University of Medical Sciences in Iran, I congratulate the success of International Islamic University of Malaysia and Dr. Suhail Inayatullah for launching of UNESCO Chair on Future Studies. We now are trying to launch UNESCO Chair in Future Studies in Iran with the help of Dr. Miller and Dr. Inayatullah, and the experiences of IIUM University will definitely help us. In Institute for Future Studies of Health has been established for 10 years. To make you more familiar with IFSH, I will mention some of focus points of this institute. The mission of developing future studies knowledge in health sector is the mission of the IFSH, and having the International Journal of Health Policy and Management with an impact factor of 5, and the collaborative center of WHO in the field of health, and the focus on interdisciplinary work and collaboration of more than 20 academic disciplines together. We held a special session to determine the areas of cooperation with the IIUM Chair of Future Studies, and reached to this conclusion that there are good areas for joint cooperation for the following reasons. First, the subject and nature of future studies, especially in IIUM, which is international university, needs international cooperation. And in this regard, IIUM can create a good setting for this networking and bringing together futurists in areas related to the sustainability and well-being. Second, both Malaysia and Iran are Islamic countries, and this makes the collaboration of the two universities more synergic in future studies that need to be deepened in belief and value. Another one is one of the important components of sustainability and well-being is health, which is the focus of IFSH. So we hope to be able to work well together, especially in this area. Creativity holding this ceremony with the presence of various partners shows the desire of IIUM to create a network, and the presence of prominent international futurists will create a good potential for creating this network. At the end, on behalf of the president of Kerman University of Medical Sciences, I convey the message to International Islamic University of Malaysia and Dr. Suhail Inayatullah that it is great honor for us as a partner of IIUM's UNESCO Chair on Future Study to be able to make future study knowledge more practical to improve sustainability and well-being. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Reza. Indeed, spirituality is one of the areas that we love to work together with you. Next, would like to invite John Sweeney from he's the editor of World Futures Reviews. Please, John.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be amongst so many friends and colleagues, and to be able to support and speak to what is certainly a momentous event, the launch of the chair. I think it would be quite apt to go into a metaphor. No one tells you when you're standing on the shoulders of giants that It's through their generosity and support that you have the stability and the ability to do so. And it's certainly been no shortage of generosity on the part of Sohail to be able to foster and really quite literally to be able to support me as I've journeyed into futures. Specifically, he came on quite late in my PhD process and joined my committee. And I have to note his propensity and penchant for critical insights, not only about where to find good yogurt in Honolulu, but to bring a real vision, a real intensity, a real dynamism that made my project something more. So again, a heartfelt thank you for his always willingness to go beyond and always his willingness to give. I'm also very delighted and excited to say that there are a few projects in development directly in relation to the chair, specifically the work that we're doing currently on the next CLA reader. We're very excited in that we are looking at the 30th anniversary of CLA coming up. So that's a project we're hopefully looking to launch in 2022. We're currently still looking for content as well. So if you have pieces you'd like to submit to that, we're really trying to bring together the next generation of CLA and to be able to bring that to, of course, a global audience. Also, we're working on a special issue in World Futures Review focused on the Futures Triangle. Of course, an extraordinary method also created by Sohail, and really, I think a mature method that really is something that needs to be given further attention. So those are specific projects that, again, very excited to support, very excited to participate in. I suppose the only thing I can say last is to ask when we're all going to go body surfing together to be here and to support the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I hear that very loud, the CLA Almanac. I think we are very interested to be part of that, inshallah. We'd like to hear next from another editor, Journal of Future Studies, Dr. George Ramos.
Yes. Hi, everyone. It's really great to be here. It's a tremendous occasion and such a joy to be together, spending time with colleagues, distinguished colleagues, friends, and soon to be friends and colleagues. I'd like to first congratulate the Islamic University, International Islamic University Malaysia for creating the UNESCO chair, and congrats to Sohail, congrats to Professor Zul and everyone that's associated with this. It is a tremendous achievement to put this together. Sohail's been a tremendous influence on my life for over 20 years now, and one of the foremost innovators, methodological innovators in the world. And I've just learned so much from you, Sohail, so I have a huge amount of respect and gratitude for this journey. I think the creation of this chair is incredibly inspiring. And Rio Miller, you talked about compost. You know, compost is this dynamic interaction, regenerating the conditions for life. And community is these dynamic interactions that play this regenerative role. And this community is truly a blessing. And one of the things that I've learned from Sohail and others is how to create community. You know, Sohail stands for personal excellence, but he also stands for what we can do together as a community, and the kind of, you know, asabiya that can be created between us in creating these changes. As one of the editors for the Journal of Future Studies, we want to be a partner in the transformations that IIUM want to create with this chair. We are committed to new futures, to challenging used futures and creating new futures, and to pioneering the new discourses and narratives and thinking that is required for the 21st century for sustainability and thrivability, both for the region and for the world. Many of the people here are partners of the Journal of Future Studies, editors, and contributors. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. We have a new series being launched, both monograph that's going to be, that Sohail has written. And we have also a book called Infectious Futures that's co-edited by, for the people here, Dr. John Sweeney, Dr. Sohail, and Dr. Peter Black. And we invite proposals and collaborations on books and monographs as part of these series as we explore these questions together. A lot has been spoken about values and worldviews and new ways of thinking. And one of the things that I've been thinking about is how can we create policy and innovation in a world of exponential technology, but also exponential problems and counterintuitive change. What Zia Sardar and John Sweeney and colleagues call post-normal times. I really like what you said, Professor Muammar Salameh. You said we need to advance the field at an exponential rate. And I really like those words. And I want to think about what that means. I think this is really worth thinking about. A lot of people here have been working in this space of actually transforming the field. Of course, Sohail's been doing that. Dr. Riel Miller, your work on anticipation and futures literacy. And of course, John's work on participatory futures. So I guess to finish, one of the ideas that Sohail imparted to me was the idea of the quadruple bottom line. It's not just about ecological, economic, what's that? Ecological, sustainability, economic, and social, but it's also about spiritual, purposeful, and the transformation of meaning. So, just to kind of leave with that question of what does it mean to create an exponential evolution of values, meaning, and purpose? And I think that the IIUM chair really sits at the center of that question and has so much to give. And in the words of Paul Hawken, we are part of this blessed unrest. I'm blessed to be part of this community. IIUM has taken a central role in this community, and we acknowledge the leadership and the commitment involved and look forward to all the achievements that this will bring forth. Thank you.
Thank you, Ross. That was a confirmation of how amazing partners that we have connected to Sohail and all the experience that is there. So we are surely very fortunate to be having Sohail as a chair, and of course, this will then be shared with Prof. Faris as a co-chair. Next, we will have Emily Shah, the Director of Strategy, Performance and Learning from PG, I guess. Yes, Emily, please.
Good evening, friends in the futures and distinguished guests. It's with much humility that I speak today on behalf of the Pacific Community, SPC. Under the leadership of our 26 members, the Pacific Community, which is the Pacific region's 74-year-old scientific and technical trusted advisor, has been co-developing our 10-year strategic plan. The work has been principle-led, principles of ownership, a member-driven inclusive approach, and high-level thought leadership for a strong future vision. Climate change, COVID-19 and economic crisis, and the rich possibilities for the Blue Pacific have demanded critical reflection on our value proposition, the capabilities that we need to take us along with our members on the future voyage ahead. We've been called for a positive vision for regional strength and cooperation, and a bright position for our organisation regionally and globally beyond 2030. Through foresight and futures thinking and a recognition of complexities many of us have spoken of this evening, requires the change, has catalyzed our collective mindset for forward thinking in a Pacific context. The process itself has been as important as the product, and in fact, both of them acting more like a compass to guide our navigation rather than a map to a single known destination. And in true Pacific style, as we've set out on the journey, we've ensured that we've had aids to navigation, these being futures literacy and capability necessary to embed thinking and process to sustain implementation. And the other mentors, like a master navigator, to accompany us on the journey through action learning, empowering and growing a Pacific network of foresight and futures practitioners. The chair has been our master navigator. He shared knowledge, entrusted his wisdom with a cohort of transdisciplinary scientists, walking through the philosophy and theory of futures, sharing organizational futures lived experience. He's facilitated virtual participatory workshops to co-create visions and explore the underlying systems, worldviews, and metaphors of the key focus areas of our scientific and technical work. Through these initial exposures, public health doctors, human rights lawyers, central planners, trade economists, ocean scientists, policymakers, they're all seeking deeper understanding and a desire to apply their new knowledge and tools to the challenges of the Pacific. Non-communicable diseases, gender-based violence, human rights, good governance, youth, oceans, food systems, climate change, for example. The 6 pillars approach has resonated with Pacific ways of knowing and of being. The use of metaphors to understand our current states and our future visions has captured the attention of our staff, our members, and our partners, providing a legitimate mechanism for everyone to bring their whole selves to the policy and planning space, to reflect on the wisdom of elders, to listen to the girl student of 2021, and to envision pathways to Pacific female leadership in 2032. The Va'a, the canoes of our future and foresight community of practice, have set sail, each journey connected by the blue Pacific. As we scan the horizon, we go forwards with our aids to navigation, safe in the knowledge that with failure there's learning and growth. We have friends amongst us. We have the generosity of the master navigator, of our Pacific leaders and futures leader, Sahel Inayatullah, to guide, to steer, to shine a light on the futures ahead. One of those futures is a Pacific Futures Collective, a network shaping Blue Pacific well-being, and for my organization, articulating science through climate, ocean, peace, and humanitarian landscape, serving our members through trusted partnerships, investing in Pacific professionals and knowledge of Pacific capacities, capabilities, and contexts. To UNESCO and IIUM, Vinakavaka level, merci fafatai malo. Thank you for your global leadership. To Chair Nayatullah, may the winds, the stars, the currents, and the birds continue to be by along your side throughout the journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Such wonderful words and remarks. I was trying to repeat, but I'm surely would not be able to do that. Congratulations, remark. We'll save the best for last. We'll invite Dr. Fadila, who was together with Sohail when he was in the previous chair, before we invite Prof. Sohail, the chair himself, to reflect on what remarks has been given. So next, we'd like to invite Dr. Fadila. The floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, good afternoon to everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you to the chairperson for this opportunity, Dr. Zainal, for the opportunity for me to speak on behalf of USIM. And first and foremost, I would like to congratulate everyone for the launching today. Throughout the 4 years of UNESCO Chair on Future Studies at USIM, the role of Professor Sohail in sharing his expertise and scholarship and promoting future studies and literacy in USIM has been significant through various programs. The chair has developed the field of future studies in USIM through the mapping of the university towards 2030, developed in a foresight workshop since 2017. This has led to many strategic plannings for USIM, and part of this was written in a book entitled Merintis Kampus Barakah, of which Professor Emeritus Tan Sri Zulkifli Abdul Razak, the then chairman of USIM, played a very instrumental role. Then the chair also, in collaboration with the Ministry of Higher Education, organized another foresight workshop, the Alternative Futures of Malaysian Universities. This time we gathered the top managements of universities in Malaysia, and where we discussed about the education of Malaysia as a whole. The chair has also organized a USIM ComSats International Workshop on Foresight and Innovation Policy in the year 2018. So in these workshops, many interesting ideas developed, and it is often the case, those who have attended Professor Sohail's seminars are attracted to the creative and imaginative descriptions of even the most complex subject matter. So many of those attending the workshops normally say, looking at things will never be the same again. So in the year 2018, the knowledge of futures thinking was disseminated further to Islamic educators via a program. We named the program as the Islamic Education, Foresight and Fourth Industrial Revolution, IFES 2018, a collaboration between USIM, US Embassy of Kuala Lumpur, Ikram Muslim, and Muslim Youth Movement of Malaysia, ABIM. In the same year, we also had a book launch of Asia 2038, Transformation 2050 with Professor Sohail Inayatullah at Borders Mesa Mall Nilai Negeri Sembilan. So a lot of experience that we had gained together, and we are very fortunate. The USIM Futures team have indeed learned a lot through this journey, and we managed to, in applying futures thinking, present futures thinking in our own field, in the legal education, in law, at the School of Law, Bangor University, Wales, UK, and we did also presentations and representations at the Asia Pacific Futures Network Conference, Bangkok. And apart of that, from that, we also are very grateful for the networking obtained from this community. We had also received visit from Lee Kuan Yew Public Policy National University of Singapore to USIM. And with this also, we had the opportunity to represent the chair at the International Symposium of UNESCO Chairs at Trento, Italy, University of Trento, Italy, where we met other UNESCO chairs from all around the world, especially from the European continent. And we also there we met Professor Riel Miller, the head of Futures Literacy, UNESCO Paris. It is also important to note here, we are very grateful to the Prince Muhammad bin Fahd Center for Futuristic Studies, where we were able to secure a research grant on development of module on Islamic foresight. And from that, we were able to spread this futures thinking further in conducting roundtable discussions with Muslim scholars and activists to gauge insights on the futures of thinking in Islam and present and publish papers. Right now, we would like to share that we are bringing futures thinking to youth, to the Muslim youth by from a program, Youth Foresight and Civic Education Values, another program which is co-organized between USIM, Prime Minister's Department of Religious Affairs and the US Embassy. So this project is aimed to disseminate futures thinking as a capacity to youth at Islamic religious schools throughout Malaysia. So ladies and gentlemen, with futures, the opportunities are endless, and we are honored to continue this valuable partnership with IIUM on future studies and all partners from the globe, all around the globe, especially those attending today. So with that, thank you very much and all the best. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fadila. With that remarks, we've ended to hear introductions, a brief introductions, all the agencies, which we appreciate very much, and the possible ideas of collaboration, which definitely we would like to continue discussion if times permit. So now we'd like to invite the chair himself, Professor Sohail, to respond or to give some ideas and reflects about what has been said about the experience that they had before. Yeah, so with that, Professor Sohail, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Prof. Zainal. Really appreciate all the comments. So first, at the formal part, really want to thank Rio Miller and Tanshri Zul to create this, as well as my co-chair, Prof. Faris, and of course, Prof. Zainal, who runs the Sagittara Center. So I think part of this meeting was, where do we go next? So my first learning from this, futures is personal. And I'm very touched by all the comments. I want to thank each one of you, but I know we're already 15 minutes over time, so I'm not going to. But you should know I'm thanking each one of you. And this is the first thing, we're really, as Emily said, we're on a journey, we're navigating, and we're doing this together. If you're in a boat or a canoe, people can fall off very quickly. We know very clear we're entering a world of increasing use of futures, but dramatically increasing risks. So this is where the community part, the personal part, sharing our knowledge with each other, to each other, becomes critical. And so I really appreciate all the comments. They're very touching, and I think they're part of the core lesson as we work together. Yes, we're professionals. Yes, we want to change the world as much as we can, but also it's our personal interaction with each other. And I think that's first and foremost is critical. The second part, going back now, speaking as a futurist, it was very much a time this was all about forecasting, prediction. And I think as Rio suggested, the metaphor was we have a lever, here's the world, let's use the lever to change the world. It was the worldview of development agencies, let's do things to you. And every development agency says, no, we have to do things together. So this has come across very clear. None of us can do this alone. It's going to be through partnerships. So I really appreciate that I have Prof. Faris as the co-chair at the university. I mean, I live in Brisbane and we're not allowed to travel. So I can't imagine, maybe next year we'll be on airplanes, but who knows? We may never go on airplanes again. It's not clear to me here. Future is unknown. Now, if we go from the world as a lever changing it, then the last, when we applied for the UNESCO chair at IIUM, my very clear metaphor when we sent it to Rio's office was move from planting seeds to nurturing young trees, the stuff we've done at Interpol, UNESCO, to really creating a forest of foresight. And so that was the last 4 years. And now today, my challenge listening to all of you, well, what's the new story? And so Emily suggested we're all navigators. I think that's part of it. And I appreciate that. Each one of us is trying to search for the new story that brings together the chairs, our work here. So if I did a CLA, and I apologize for doing this, but that's kind of how I think, level one is here's all the projects we're going to do together. Impacting government, impacting international organizations, running workshops for 10-year-olds, working with businesses. So this is really real projects we do. Now, level two is what's the purpose of these projects? So more and more what came out here is we want to go from GDP to well-being. I've been working with the government of New Zealand. They said, look, GDP is dead, but how do we get our country to move towards well-being? Help us create the 50-year map. The second thing very clear that's come out is gender equity, gender partnership. The boat is going to tip unless it's balanced. The third thing is no nation can do this alone. This is really in the Asia region, how do we create an equitable, a real confederation? Because the problems of pandemics, climate change, trade, investment, they're not going to be solved by one country. So part of our work, I feel, is giving the thought leadership so ministers and prime ministers have a friend in the future when they're nervous. They're all nervous. They're scared to death. Every minister I meet, they have no idea what's going on. And they're looking for ideas. How do I sell 2040 and still get reelected? And that becomes part of our thing. Now, if we go to a worldview, the old worldview was really industrial. Then we moved to ecological. And now it's really the shift towards partnership, co-partnering, co-creating. We're co-creating with our thoughts, with our hearts, with our hands, and with our feet. And that's really how I can see the next 4 to 8 years. It's co-creating together. Now, what's the new metaphor? So I'm actually not certain. Normally they come to me like this, but this, I'm actually not suddenly glad I don't know the new story. This next 4 years into the UNESCO chair is creating the new story. I know it's partly going to be about the sea. A forest of foresight is nice, but what happened to the Pacific Ocean? So this is about the sea. It's about the forest. it's about cities, and definitely it's about new technologies. So it's almost a Gaian image of all of us together journeying, moving forward, which is really what the Center for Sustainability and Humanity is about. So I want to work with everyone here. Let's all work together. We're pretty clear on our goals for 10 years. We have all these international organizations that want to work in the futures community. We have some clear, here's the values we want. We want a different world. And we're very clear. For me, the new worldview is co-partnering, is co-evolution. The narrative is still not clear. So help me and work with us to create the new story. We have Tanshri Zul, we have Prof. Faris, we have Dr. Zain, Prof. Zainal. There are people who are going to hold the space of the university, but we know the university as we've known it is gone. University cannot be in one place anymore. This is a global planetary, what H.G. Wells says, the global brain. We're here using the future to create the global brain. And since all of us are value-oriented, it's the brain plus the mind plus the soul. So let's keep on doing this. And thank you so much for willing to spend an hour and a half together. And thank you to each one of you. And I apologize if I didn't mention you individually. And thank you for all the friends who've been listening in and being part of this, and looking forward to seeing you for sure virtually and hopefully one day face to face. So from heart, mind, soul, feet, and hands, thank you very much for this co-journey.
Thank you very much, Prof. Sohal. That is very inspirational. There's no way that I can rap forever. Yeah, there's a very good remarks for us to start everything together. And I'm sure you've got a co-chair as an engineer to work with us on putting that up to materialize that one. So with that, we enter into the end of the events. We would like to thank again from the bottom of our hearts to everyone, each and every one of all the agencies and individuals who are with us before and with us now and with us for the futures as well. We'd like to look forward to all the possible ideas that everyone has spoken about. So we look forward to working together, inshallah. So with that remarks, thank you again, Rial, everyone around, yeah, and Prof. Sohal, Tanshri Zul, the co-chair, Prof. Faris, and everyone. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum, and what a very good afternoon and good night everywhere in the world. Let's see again in other occasions. And just an advertisement a bit, Rial, if you don't mind, tomorrow there'll be sessions at ADB. We will be talking about the futures as well. Sherman will be there, Rial will be there as well. See you tomorrow, who's be around. Thank you.
Where's the official Asian picture?
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Let's put it on. Yeah.
Asian Pacific picture.
Yeah. Thanks for the reminder. All right. Can we get everyone to switch the videos on and put the biggest smile? This will be a very momentous and memorial, a good memory for us. This picture is the beginning of the IIUM UNESCO Chair's Anticipation for Futures for Sustainability and Wellbeing. Zahida or who's around, are we ready? Let me count 1, 2, 3 so that everyone will be smiling. All right, Zahida, you ready? Or Ayman?
Yes, sir, they're ready.
Okay, you done? Okay, right. We'll count to the count. Yeah, 3. Wait, can we just do in one shot? Everyone is one screen, or you need 2?
2 pages.
Okay,
2 pages.
2 pages. All right.
This happens with all pictures.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, and hold your speed. Hold your smile.
Clear screen.
Right.
Comment.
Next one. We done, Zahida?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everyone. See you again, inshallah.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks so much for being part.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sohail. See you.
Thanks, Tanshri.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ma. So hopefully, and I think is Idris around from Paris? Sure, is he around?
Idris is there.